In one African village lived a beautiful woman called Nala. Nala was not an ordinary woman. Her arms were as strong as the baobab tree. Nala was famous for winning every hand wrestling match in her village. Many men wanted to marry her and asked her to be their wife. But Nala had one rule: she would only marry a man who could win in a hand wrestling match against her. The problem was, no man in the village could. Still, Nala longed for someone who could see beyond her strength, someone who could offer her a match that was more than just a battle of the muscles. She felt alone at the top, her heart heavy with a wish that seemed as distant as the horizon. The women in the village were jealous of Nala. They were tired of all the men only having eyes for her and paying no attention to them. So, they came up with a sneaky plan. They made a special potion that would take away Nala's strength if she drank it. They knew that without her strength, the men might stop wanting to marry her, and they hoped this would give them a chance to be noticed. The women worked carefully on their plan. They put the potion in a drink and offered it to Nala during a village feast, praising her and toasting to her victories. Trusting them, Nala drank it, laughing and enjoying the celebration. But the next day, something wasn't right. Nala felt weak and tired. She couldn't understand what was happening. When the men challenged her to the usual wrestling matches, she thought it would be like any other day. But to everyone's shock, Nala lost. Not just once, but match after match. The strength that had defined her seemed to have vanished overnight. With Nala suddenly losing match after match, the mood in the village changed. The men, who once admired her unbeatable strength, now joked among themselves, saying, "Now that she's not winning anymore, maybe we all have a chance to marry her." Hearing this, the women of the village couldn't hide their smiles. They giggled behind their hands, pleased that their potion had worked. Nala was no longer the center of attention for her strength, and the women felt they were finally seen by the men again. After her surprising defeats, Nala kept to herself. She stayed at home alone, heart aching from the loss of her strength. The wrestling matches that she once faced with excitement now filled her with dread. She couldn't bear the thought of losing again, of seeing the disappointment in the eyes of the villagers, or worse, the pity. The joy of wrestling no longer called to her. She felt beaten, not just by the men, but by life itself. As time passed, the effects of the potion wore off. Nala's physical strength began to return. Her arms regained their might, and she could lift heavy things again, just as before. But something inside Nala had changed. Even though her muscles were strong, her mind was not. She remembered the taste of defeat and the laughter of the men. She remembered the sneaky glances of the women. These memories stayed with her and weighed her down. Psychologically, Nala was broken. The confidence that once powered her through every match had faded. She no longer believed in herself as the champion she once was. The potion had been temporary, but the doubt it planted in her mind lingered, keeping her from stepping back into the wrestling circle she once loved. Time rolled on, and the rhythm of village life continued. One day, a stranger arrived. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a quiet confidence. The news quickly spread that this man was a wrestler, one with great strength. He started to challenge the local men to hand wrestling matches, and, one by one, he beat them all. The village hadn't seen anything like it since the days when Nala was the reigning champion. His reputation grew with each victory, and whispers began that maybe he was the strongest the village had ever seen, even stronger than Nala had been. As the stranger kept winning, some villagers started to tease him. They said, "Hey, if you think you're so strong, why don't you go challenge Nala? She used to be the best, but now she doesn't wrestle. It would be fun to see if you can get her to come out and try again." They laughed, thinking it would be a funny sight, not really believing Nala would accept. One sunny afternoon, the new man and Nala crossed paths in the center of the village. People gathered around, sensing something interesting was about to happen. The man turned to Nala, with everyone watching, and said, "They tell me you were the best. How about a match?" The crowd burst into laughter and chatter, thinking this was just another joke. Nala had heard stories about this strong newcomer, but seeing him there, challenging her directly, sparked a flicker of curiosity in her, despite the hurt that still lingered in her heart. She didn't answer right away, weighing the mix of old pain and new interest that his challenge stirred inside her. Back at her home, Nala thought about the challenge. She sat quietly and remembered how it felt to be strong and unbeatable. The new man's voice echoed in her head. She was curious about him. He had come to her village and beaten everyone, just like she used to. But she was also scared. She hadn't wrestled in so long, and she didn't want to lose again. The idea stayed with her as the sun set and the stars came out. She couldn't stop thinking about what to do. After thinking it over all through the night, Nala made up her mind. She left her home and walked to the spot in the village where people gathered. With her head held high and her voice clear, she said to the new man, "I accept your challenge. Let's wrestle." Nala got to work. She trained every day, lifting stones and practicing her grip. The villagers, excited and curious, watched Nala and the new man, whose name was Jabari. They would talk about the upcoming match between Nala and Jabari whenever they could, trying to guess who might win. Everyone was caught up in the excitement, closely following their every move as the big day neared. The day of the match, the air was thick with tension. Nala and Jabari sat opposite each other, the village forming a circle around them. Everyone held their breath as the two wrestlers locked hands. The match began, and it was intense from the start. Nala and Jabari were evenly matched, their muscles straining, their faces set with determination. The villagers couldn't tell who was going to win. Back and forth it went, with neither wrestler gaining the upper hand for long. The pressure was mounting, and it seemed as though the match could go on forever. But then, in a sudden move, Jabari's arm began to waver. He grunted with effort, his resistance fierce, but his hand kept moving, slowly, relentlessly, down. And then it hit the table. The crowd erupted in cheers. "Nala has won! Nala is the champion again!" Everyone was rejoicing, slapping Nala's back and lifting her arm in triumph. But amidst the celebration, in the quiet space of her own heart, Nala knew the truth. Jabari had let her win. His eyes met hers for a brief moment, and no words were needed. She understood. After the match and the cheers, Nala excused herself and walked away to find some peace. She went to the river and found Jabari already sitting there. She sat beside him and looked at him. "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Why did you let me win?" He turned to her, a soft look on his face. "Nala, a long time ago, you beat me in a wrestling match. You probably don't remember. I was just another opponent to you. But to me, you were everything. I left the village that day, heartbroken but determined." Nala listened, surprised as she couldn't recall the match he mentioned, because there had been so many of them. "I traveled to other villages, wrestling anyone I could, learning, growing stronger," Jabari continued. "I wanted to come back and win against you, so you'd notice me, so you'd see how much I cared." Nala's eyes widened at his confession, understanding coming to her. "But when I returned, you weren't wrestling anymore. Seeing you without the zest for life hit me harder than any defeat. I just wanted to see you happy again. Letting you win today wasn't about wrestling. It was about waking up the amazing woman who inspired me so much," he said gently. As Nala listened, tears came. She finally got it. Jabari had liked her all along, with a love that was kind and true. He worked hard and came back, all for her. It was never just about winning. It was about her. She cried, feeling loved and special, realizing someone saw her for more than just her strength. You don't always have to be strong, and it's all right to not be the best. Losing doesn't mean you failed. It just shows you're human. Life is not about winning. It's about love and bringing joy to others. We may act tough, but deep down, we're just looking for someone to accept and love us for who we truly are. Love, not victory, is what makes life beautiful. I'm so grateful I got to share this story with you. It means the world to me to connect over these words. And if they've touched your heart, consider coming along on this journey by subscribing. May your path be filled with the warmth of love and light of understanding, as you cherish and are cherished in return. Be blessed, and keep the beauty of these truths close to your heart. Let's continue this adventure together.